And good afternoon, everyone. This is Chantal. This is day 5, and we are here with, Kathy. Yes, I'm sorry. I was going to say Kathleen. Kathy and I are together having this last day with you of the 5-day retreat, Yes to My Life Beyond Breast Cancer. So if you are watching this as a replay, you know that you have 4 days before this day to catch up to, but it's not a big deal. I'm going to repeat right now what we've covered so far. And today is really about community, and it's about how to create support and having people around you that are there to support you, not only on your healing journey, but also in the life that you choose to live for whatever time you have. And all of us, again, as I said many times, don't know how much time we have. We just know that we have a choice in how we spend that time and making the best of what we can. And that's what we talked about on day 3 when we talked about living on purpose. So today, I'm going to review quickly, and then we're going to dive into what it means to be in community together and why should we be in community. So day 1, we talked about the fight, flight, freeze response, and that is probably 99% of the time what happens when you get diagnosed with a life-threatening illness. And life-threatening really means your life is at stake. And so a diagnosis like breast cancer will trigger that response. Now, depending on who you are and depending on your past and your childhood, you may have different reactions. But it basically falls into 3 categories, and there's also a 4th one that is called the fawn response. So basically, fight, you fight your way through. Flight, you want to run away. Freeze, you get numb. And fawn is you try to negotiate. And then we talked about how to disengage that response. Why? And you'll see a theme throughout the whole 5-day retreat is that your hormones, adrenal, cortisol, and other hormones in the body that are in charge of the fight, flight, freeze, fawn response are toxic. So it's important to have that sense of coming back to yourself and calming down your nervous system and engaging what's called the parasympathetic nervous system. That is where healing happens. And of course, that response can change many times in one day. And it's not like you do it once and it's done, for all. It's really a practice. It's a repeat. And so, in fact, today we're going to talk about this, what fires together neurologically wires together. So the more you practice, the better you get at it. So that was day number 1. Day number 2, we talked about your body as a source of guidance, intuitive guidance towards healing. So we talked about 4 levels: physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual. And through these 4 components, as in you receive physical sensations, you feel emotions, you have thoughts, and you also have a connection to the greater reality of this world called spirit, universe, God, whatever you want to call it. So now when you get that feedback, when you start feeling, sensing, hearing, and all of this, again, how do you get into being more mindful about changing that response, right? So we're always coming back to how do we modulate so that we can create what we want. Now, there's 4 levels of intuition. We covered this also on day 2, which is you can hear guidance, you can hear words, you can see images. So basically, when you tune in into your higher self, which is the part of you that connects to the greater field of consciousness called universal consciousness, and also it's called the quantum field. So that's kind of like where all possibilities exist. So our mind is really powerful. Mind, heart, body together is like a rod. It's like a tuning fork. So if you know how to line up, and not to say how to, as in it's a hard place to get to, it's more like when you line up, you receive guidance and what to do about your life, your healing process, and anything else you may have questions for. Day number 3, we talked about higher self, and we talked about what it means to connect to that source of guidance ongoingly every day. We talked about different practices. And when we're in a fight, flight, freeze, fawn response, sometimes it's hard to meditate. And so we want to calm down the body. We want to come to a place inside where the hormones are not running havoc. So we talked a lot about movement, yoga, walking in the woods, running, swimming, whatever your body allows you to do. If you're in the middle of treatment, you may not feel fully charged and fully capable. You do what you can, but you want to find that you want to help your body come back to that state of homeostasis, which means balance. And then your higher self has more room. You can connect to it and really get in touch with what it means to have a bigger perspective on your life and make meaning of what you're going through right now. It's really hard sometimes. And believe me, I know, because I was there yesterday. I just felt like I got really scared and I started thinking very small. So your thinking shrinks, your reality shrinks. And basically you can't see why and how to go about going through this thing called breast cancer recovery. Now, day number 4, which was yesterday, we actually talked about life purpose. So the heart is the seat of the soul. So we launched from higher self, which connects to everything. And you as a person, again, you're like a tuning fork, and your heart is the recipient. I believe that all of us are here, born on this planet, with a purpose. So that's number 1. And number 2 is, how do you live on purpose every day? And I had a quote, an interview that was done by Oprah with the Dalai Lama. And she asks, what is our purpose as human beings? And the Dalai Lama responded, to help one another. So there is in the heart the ability to do many things. And we talked about coherence for a couple of days, 2 days in a row, how to make your heart waves be coherent, which means balanced. And then we talked about the importance of finding in your heart what you love, because what you love will pull you forward. Now, it doesn't mean what you love in general, as in life purpose, I have to do it before, whatever. It can be little steps. It's like tracking, I call it walking the path of picking up breadcrumbs, one thing at a time. So we're back to the 4 levels: physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual, where every day you ask yourself, what is important to me, and where do I focus my attention? Where do I say yes, and where do I say no? So that also creates resonance in your heart, and that resonance comes down your nervous system, and then healing happens again. So we're always coming back to the same thing. Now, today we're talking about community, and we are also talking about how the power of connecting to one another can also influence the same process, which is a healing response. So here we are, last day of the retreat. Welcome back. And if you haven't, thank you, Kathy. If you haven't yet plugged into this 4 days, go back and listen. And hopefully you'll feel comfortable to post some comments and maybe have questions after you listen to the recording. So is there anything you want to say, Kathy? Anything resonates with you as we talk here and go through this whole process? Anything?
Well, I've been just typing down everything that you've been through over the last few days, everything that we've been through. And just that alignment stands out, just that, being here for a purpose and being able to check in and align and ask every day, moment by moment, what is it right now? What is that purpose right now? Because sometimes we think about purpose as this big lofty thing far off in the future, but actually we have a purpose in every moment. There is nothing else but this moment in which we can have a purpose. So being here now and aligned and just living on purpose in this moment is powerful. It's beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for reflecting that back to us. Because when the Dalai Lama says that our purpose is to help one another, he's coming back to the heart. And so we're coming back to the virtues of the heart, which is to have the ability to love, to have the ability to have compassion, to be kind, to have gratitude or appreciation, and those qualities. And so when you say this, coming back to each moment, moment by moment and breath by breath, we can make that choice. And it's really a choice that we make. We have the ability to choose. Responsibility means ability to respond. So when you take responsibility for your health, for yourself, for your life, you choose how you respond to life, and that response can be heart-centered. And we also have, and I'm just going to launch into today, we also send waves when we are in our heart. The coherence wave, the waves that are connected to the heart, we looked at that yesterday, impact the environment. We are in a field together. I call it the quantum soup. So as Kathy talks, I'm listening and I'm receiving energy, even though she's far away. She's in the UK and I'm here in the United States. And yet I can feel her vibration. I can feel her resonance, right? And yes, she has a hand on her heart, and I do too, because that's really what it is. From heart to heart, there's no distance. We can affect healing in our body, and we can also affect healing for one another. So that's why we want to get into community, because we can either sink ourselves in a hole, and that's what the fight, flight, freeze, fawn response will do, is shrink our world to a reality that is very scary, and that has nothing to do with the potential that lives inside of you. And that usually isolates us. And you may relate to this as you listen to this recording and or are listening to us live here. But I know when I got diagnosed both times, I hid. I went into hiding. I didn't want to tell people. It's a very strange reaction to have, but I felt shame, like I had done something wrong. And I didn't want people to see me weak. I didn't want people to have pity on me. And in fact, that elicited a lot of anger from me, because I had one person in particular that came through and mostly started telling people, and I was telling everyone to not tell others. And now you wonder probably why I'm here on camera telling everyone, because I chose to overcome that, because I realized my pain is your pain and your pain is my pain. And as I choose to heal, or really believe that it's possible to heal, I'm also sending you that message. So we're in it together. We're not alone. We're not islands isolated in the ocean with no one around. We're all connected. So let's go and dive in a little deeper, shall we? So I'm going to share my screen, and I am going to start this beautiful, hopefully helpful PowerPoint. So the power, so how do we, today we're going to look at how we learn from each other, because we are creatures of bonding. So bonding happens, and we looked at this in the second day. Bonding happens at a very young age, and we're going to look at that and what happens as a consequence to that. How we have been trained to relate to our primary caregivers is how we relate to other people at this moment. And then the impact of hanging out with other people. So a rising tide lifts everyone. And that is one of the sentences, key sentences that a woman that I'm currently working with, a business coach, is saying. So think about it for a moment. A rising tide lifts everyone. So if I choose to rise up, to raise my vibration, to believe in what is possible, what I call the power of possibility, I invite you with me to go to that level. And that's what this group is about. And that's what I'm inviting you to do in your life. Choose people who will help you rise up. And I don't mean disconnect from your reality. I don't mean going into what I call premature transcendence, pretending nothing's happening. I really mean focusing on what you want to create. And then why would you want to belong to a community? I mean, what are the reasons, right? Some of us want to hide. Like I said, believe it or not, I am a deep-seated introvert. Many years ago, I had someone explain to me the difference between introversion and extroversion. And she believed that I was an extrovert, but then when she started explaining to me the difference between both, she realized, and I also realized, that I was an introvert. So quick one on this one, you can do the Myers-Briggs, but an introvert is someone who needs to be alone to recharge. An extrovert is someone who gets energy from being around people. So I am this person who is actually an introvert. And so why would I choose to belong to a community? And we'll talk about this. And then moving forward, what does it mean to create community? So here we are going to go through this. So the 4 questions that I would like for you to ask yourself, because these are self-reflective questions, and you don't know where you go unless you know where you start from, right? So let's go, you decide you go on vacation, and I live in Western Massachusetts, and I decide on the East Coast, and I decide I want to go west. I have to know where I'm coming from, right? Western Massachusetts is where I start from. Let's say I want to go to California, which is completely on the other side of the United States. I have to know where I am, where I'm going, and the journey in between. I have to craft that. So how you relate to feeling supported by others? Ask yourself that question. How do I feel about receiving support? Some of us are comfortable with this, and some of us are not. And I have to tell you honestly, this has been a learning experience for me and continue to be. So check in with yourself. If somebody offers you help, do you immediately say, no, I got this? Or do you actually say thank you? And I'm not saying one is better than the other one. I'm just saying check in. Ask yourself, get curious. Because the heart center and breast cancer is related. And it is my firm beliefs, and there are studies done on this, that most women that have breast cancer are overgivers and have a hard time receiving. So when people offer you support and want to give you something, can you take it in? Because when you do, you nurture your heart. And then where do you find support when you need it? You know, there's a reason why the heart shuts down. Sometimes we don't trust. Trust is a big issue. Trust has to do with safety. So you have to look around and say, who do I feel safe with? Friends, family, groups. Sometimes people feel more comfortable being in a group of unknown people, strangers, and share openly what they're feeling than sharing with their friends and family. Or maybe sometimes the opposite. Feel comfortable telling a friend or a family member, but not in public. So it's kind of like what feels right to you is right, which is what we talked about when we talked about intuition. And you do have to follow your intuition and knowing who to trust and who you feel comfortable and safe with. And then where have you found supports in starting this healing journey? Have you reached out for support? Have you asked people to help you? You know, I've talked to women, and they were like me, I guess, in a way. My first diagnosis, I pretty much lived it in the closet. Very few people knew. Only the people I really needed to tell knew. And I did not have a strong network around me because I wouldn't want to have a big network. I felt like it was exhausting for me to be involved with people in their emotional reality, and I kept to myself. But I did have to ask for a few things. I was going through a separation with my ex-husband of 23 years, and I had to have people around me, and I had to convince myself that it was time to do this. So again, where did you find support since you've been diagnosed? And then keeping the balance between receiving and giving, you know, because often, as I said, if we're an overgiver and we receive a little bit, we want to give a lot. And that's when we get depleted. A healing crisis calls you to go deeper into who you are. And it's not necessarily a time where you have to give a lot. It's a time where you want to balance the giving and receiving. And at the same time, I repeated the quote there at the bottom. What is our purpose here on earth? Oprah asked the Dalai Lama, and he responded, to help one another. So sometimes helping doesn't mean we're giving. Sometimes helping means we're holding space. We are there. We are a presence. We are a container. And that's how we hold space, but we're not disconnecting. So I'm just going to pause here for a moment again and see if Kathy wants to say anything. And if, let's see, we're going to go here for a second, stop sharing. Here we go. Kathy.
Hello. Yeah, this is challenging for me. This is challenging. I don't know if I fall into that category of an overgiver. I probably wouldn't describe myself like that, but certainly the feeling of not wishing to ask for support when I need it most. When I'm fine, quite happy to connect with people and do whatever. As soon as anything is really seriously wrong, I'll hunker down and hide.
I'm not smiling because it's funny. I'm smiling because yes.
It's you, yeah. When you were saying it, I was smiling. It was like, yep, I really recognize that. What's interesting is that I can kid myself because I can say thank you for everything anyone offers. But what I won't do usually, or what I haven't done historically, is really ask for what I really need. And it's not until people hear what you really need emotionally that they can even give you that. And they'll offer what they can, and you can be thankful and grateful for what they're offering. And sometimes what you need is something different. And so it's having the courage and the vulnerability to say, what I really need is this, or I just really need you to hear me right now. And this is hard right now, instead of putting on that brave face and transforming everything so fast from the challenge to the triumph that nobody gets to see that space in the middle when you're in turmoil.
Yes. Thank you again for saying this. It's very deep. What you just said is very authentic. First of all, I appreciate your honesty about your personal challenge about reaching out and asking for help and asking for what you really need. And that is definitely something for all of us. For me, it was a learned skill to still continue to be learned to this day, because it's really requiring, like you said, for us to be vulnerable and to, I want to say admit as if there was something wrong, but really show that we're not always strong, and sometimes we are vulnerable and we need another shoulder to lean on, another hand to hold, and somebody to help us, hold our heart when our heart is breaking. And so physical illness can definitely bring you down to your knees, and emotional challenges as well. And so a life-threatening illness like breast cancer is actually doing that. It's physical, it's emotional, it's mental, and it can also be spiritual. But that applies to everything in life. Relationship breakdowns. Kathy is a specialist in relationships, and she's an awesome coach, and working with people that are at the breaking point or want to be breaking up. And then she's she actually provides people with tools and processes, and mostly her presence, to really help people get to that place of vulnerability and be able to mend the break. So that happens on all levels, right? What happens inside happens on the outside. What happens on the outside can happen on the inside. So both those parts are at play here. So that's what it means to be in a relationship. We're not just in a relationship with a partner, we're in a relationship with one another and also with communities. So thank you for saying this. I'm going to go back to our slides here because I want to start again. I want to start where we are in terms of what we're doing today. So hold on a second. We got to get this going. Here we go. So learning how we bond. So I had this really cute little picture the first day, and I'm having it again. That is basically a baby and a mommy, and I want to say sometimes it's a baby with other caregivers. And that relationship sets the tone and the foundation for how we relate to other people. Now, the tricky part is that we don't remember. So I don't think I remember anything until I was maybe 5 years old. And unfortunately, the foundational years are from 0 to 7. That's how we learn to relate to our body, which is the first period of life, and then to other people, and eventually to a community. Now, the family that we grow up in teaches us a lot. Primary caregivers, the bonding. So that picture that I have there is nonverbal, it's pre-verbal. So we're born, and hopefully we're held and we're nurtured. And through that communication comes some messages. So if our caregivers absolutely enjoy holding us, we feel safe. If they can relax, and I'm not saying no one has to be perfect, believe me, it's very demanding to be around infants. And for the most part, if you are able, if your caregiver is able to hold you and relax and respond to your needs when you're hungry, then you learn that the world is safe and that your needs can be met. And I'm talking about the primary needs: hunger, thirst, warmth, cold, being held, being changed. You know, that's the first part of life. But that creates a message in our physical, emotional, mental reality. Either it's safe or it's not to connect to others, or our needs are going to be met or they're not going to be met. And the gaze, the verbal, nonverbal communication, it's all in there. It basically creates a set point in our nervous system. And that's the field of neuroscience. So when I said what fires together, wires together, right? So if it's not safe to be in touch in a relationship with other people, then we have a response that is ingrained in the nervous system that says, stay away from people. So people end up being like a dangerous tiger. And so we have a love-hate relationship with that connection, that relationship, because sometimes we know we need people, and at the same time, we don't want to be around people. So it's sort of like that very confusing relationship. Now, the 4 body reactions. So basically, I said when bad experiences have happened, AKA trauma. And I'm not saying trauma has to be an ongoing thing and a big thing. It could be a little trauma. It doesn't matter. Trauma is trauma. It sets, again, another imprint in the nervous system. So those are the symptoms that I have there, like the fight, the sympathetic nervous system. You tend to be irritable, angry, and you want to move forward, and that's the response. So maybe you don't really tolerate people that well, or maybe when they come closer, especially, they want to give you something. It's tender, then you get irritable. And I'm saying these things, just recognize yourself without making any judgment on your response or conclusion on who you are. Because what fires together wires together, and there's something called rewiring, which is what being in community does. So we'll talk about it in a few minutes. But for now, so the fight response, you may get irritable around people. The flight, you may get scared, like almost have a panic attack, chronically worry. How do I look? How am I doing? Did I do enough? Being a perfectionist, I have to have all my duck in a row, my hair has to look good, you know, that kind of thing. As soon as I enter the world of other people, I have to start performing. That's the flight response in terms of perfectionism or avoidance. And your body, when we talked about body reactions on day 2, your body is where all these responses are coming from. And often we can't explain. We can enter a room and say, why did I get scared? Why am I holding my breath? Why is my jaw tight? Why is my heart racing? Why are my hands sweating? It's all those responses. Your body already knows without you having to think about it. It's sending you a message. The freeze response is basically collapsing, feeling immobilized, dissociating, feeling depressed, having shame. So that's what I talked about. Breast cancer diagnosis created shame for me. Makes no sense, but it did. So, and dissociation, spacing out, wanting to not be around anybody, just be in my own space. I spent a ton of time in the woods, and one level was really healing because I needed to calm down and make sense and help my body. But I was also very, very anxious. So that's the freeze response, is to basically collapse, immobilize, you know, get away from people and get depressed. Now, the fawn response is when you become a people pleaser. And that's so tricky, right? That's that balance. When somebody's helping you or wants to help you, do you want to give back because you feel like you have to make up for it? That's the fawn response. Prioritizing others. Believe it or not, my best friend in my first breast cancer diagnosis was trying to be there, but she would come home and I would make dinner for her. And I continued doing that. She was not a good cook and she didn't take it upon herself to cook for me. But honestly, I had gone through mastectomy and I was in pain, and I still managed to pull the dinner together. And one night it occurred to me, I'm like, what am I doing? Why don't I just let her do something for me? So that's the people pleasing part, right? So it's a combination of all these responses that come together that made me very, it made it very challenging for me to receive. So basically, people are either safe or unsafe. And these little owls that you see there is what you see in my office. I have a collection of owl collections because they tend to like me when I go in nature. They show up. But really, either people feel safe, you want to snuggle, you want to come closer, you want to talk to them, you want them to talk to you, or you just start showing your teeth because it doesn't feel safe. You defend yourself, or you hide, or you freeze. So, like I said, neurons that fire together, wire together. And basically, we repeat what we have seen, heard, and done with others. I said that already. And the more we repeat, the more ingrained it becomes in our nervous system. Now, I am basically saying two things. One is what you learned between 0 and 7 has a strong pull on you. So as you start looking for support, either you look at other communities, you can look at your friends, your family, you will revert back to what you know and what you've done and what felt safe. Now, you're going to have to make a choice, and not have to. You may want to, or you may choose to make a different choice. That is, you have to rewire your brain. So that means when you start being in a community like this community, Facebook community, other communities, you're going to have to face that place inside of you that resists, right? You go in and then you're like, oh no, I don't want to talk. Oh no, I don't want to share. Or you may listen to me and go, what is she talking about? Or you listen to other people and you have all these thoughts in your mind you're not able to hear. And so that resistance is there for a reason, trying to protect the kid inside of you, 0 to 7, that knew that maybe a relationship were not so safe. And then you can make the choice at that point when you're right in the middle. Which way do I want to go? Do I want to go back, or do I want to change that reaction, that response? And so in the last 4 days, we've talked a lot about mindfulness. Mindfulness is bringing your mind into the moment, current reality, being present. And that is what rewires the brain, believe it or not. There's all kinds of other things, affirmations, connecting to different people that feel safer. There's a variety of things that will make you rewire. But the first thing, as I said, if you go on a journey, you have to know where you're starting from. And being mindful brings you right here, right now. So you're in a group, you see your response, you decide, oh, I chose to be in this group for a reason. A part of me knows that I need support. Now, am I going to retreat, or am I going to start coming and really sharing my own experience? Because when you share, a lot of studies have been done, when you start talking about what you're living, it has less grip on you. It doesn't hold you in that fear, meaning the fight, flight, freeze, fawn response. And then you start having more space in your heart, in your mind, in your body to let healing happen. So breast cancer in community is really about holding each other and being held in the power of possibilities. Physically, we create a container for one another. This is not a place we're coming in and being told or telling others what to do. It's about hearing. It's about what's called active listening. We all have different experiences, yet we're all connected. And that's what we do. We have a container. Emotionally, we support. So what we can feel, we can heal. And I've expanded on that when I was talking about emotions a couple of days ago, how our emotions, our issues live in our tissues. And if we can't release it, it becomes toxic stress that does not increase healing, that decreases health. And then so emotionally we support one another because we want to be able to express. Now I talked about it 2 days ago, the not expressing too much or repressing. That place in the middle where we express our truth and don't have to convince anyone. So that's what a community does. Hopefully you will find people, you want to find people that are able to hold that space for you. And you're also able to do it for others. Mentally, being part of a community is rewiring the brain in a sense of what is possible. I hold, and I keep saying it to myself and other people, that it is possible to heal. I listen, no kidding, what we think and say matters. I listen to books, I listen to people who not only say that it is possible, but tell me how. And I walk that path along with you. I don't know. It's a guessing game at this point, right? Second diagnosis, may make it, may not. But hey, I'm today choosing to believe in this moment, that I have my connection to higher universal life force is making it possible for my body to rebalance itself, because I do believe that it has the ability to heal. And I make choices around that. I choose to go for what enhances my life, and whatever depletes it, for the most part, I try to not live with it. At least balance it out and have a little bit more on the plus side than the minus side. And spiritually, we're here to evolve. So we are people of community, we are people of bonding, and together we can, again, a rising tide lifts everyone. When I'm evolving, you're evolving. When you're evolving, I'm evolving. So when we hold that consciousness, the belief that things are possible, we change our words for words that are allowing for healing to happen. We together break the spell of what it means to be stuck in pain. So that's what community does. Breast cancer in community, or any community. Why do we seek to belong? Kathy creates community around people who actually have challenges in their relationship. They can talk to one another and they can explain and express what's happening. So they come out of the shame closet. They come out of the guilt closet. They come out of the something's wrong with me or something's wrong with my relationship closet. So I'm just going to stop sharing here for a minute and just let her speak if she wants to speak to that, or anything else in what we talked about so far in relationship to community and all this good stuff.
Wow, and it is good stuff. I think the thing that struck me from what you just said was that feeling of shame and coming out of the closet, because we tend not to know what other people's experience is. And I've been surprised by this, because I think, having been a relationship coach for so long, it's very easy for me to forget that most people think that most people's relationships are fine. I know that most people's relationships are really, really challenging. Now, that's not to say they're not fine. Challenging is fine. It's part of the journey. And also that kind of act of faith that when we're in the challenge, that helps us to go deeper, and it helps us to connect on a deeper level, because we're not just floating along the surface with everything being happy and fluffy. So, but that idea that everybody else is fine, it's just me. You know, when you can get rid of that, oh, the relief is amazing. And I see this with my clients too, just the relief falling away. Oh, it's normal. Oh, it's normal to argue with your partner. Oh, and there's only 4 things I'm doing wrong. You know, so these are the kinds of things that I teach. But I guess the principle is the same, isn't it? That, right. Oh, it's okay. It's okay to feel shame. It's okay to want to hide. It's okay to be going through these tumultuous kind of emotions. And it's okay to lose faith and then come back. Right. All of that.
And you know, when you speak about relationships, you talk about couples because that's your specialty. But when I'm listening to you, I generalize that concept to relationships in a group. I generalize the concept to what you just said is actually powerful, because we look at people's outside from our inside.
That's a great expression.
So yeah. I basically have my inner reality. You don't know what it looks like. You know, you may be listening to me today, anyone listening to me live or on the recording, and think, wow, how is she doing this? A lot of people have said that to me. How are you doing this? And how do you pull it together? And how do you look so strong? And whatever, blah, blah, blah. So, and I'm not saying I'm minimizing what they're saying, but I'm saying that they look at me from the inside where they may not feel so strong or determined or whatever at my outside, but they don't know how I'm feeling inside. So that's why I choose to share with you and other people what my inner reality is, because not because I want to dwell on it. If I don't have a good day, I'm committed to living through that bad day and also being in a relationship with other people from that place, along with having good days. It's a balance. So in relationships, we have both. So when we are in a group of people, it's important to hold that again. And when I talk about being a container, we have a container that holds the reality of what it means to be human. So when you talk about this, Kathy, coming out of the shame closet, it's really the reality of being human. We are human. We are human in relationship with our partner. We're human in relationship to our children and family and friends. And we mess up a lot. So being part of a group is having that moment where we go, oh, we're all the same. We are. And then if we find ourselves comparing and judging and all that stuff, it's just the mind doing its thing. The ego mind, I call it the ego mind, that basically separates, but we're not separate. We all have the same reactions and the same emotions. Maybe not living in the same way, maybe not the same story, but at some point there are some common themes. So thank you for saying that. Okay, so we're going to go back to our presentation here. And we are going to continue. Oops, hold on a second. We got this. Here we go. So why belong to a community? There are a lot of books out there, and I mentioned that yesterday. I'm pretty much a bookworm. I love reading, and I love pulling information that backs up when I kind of know intuitively. But Dean Ornish wrote a book, Love and Survival. That's the title of it. Have an image of it at the end of this presentation. But basically, he says that our survival depends on the healing power of love, intimacy, and relationships. As individuals, as communities, as a country, as a culture, perhaps even as a species. We can't survive alone. Children die if they're not attended to. People left alone go crazy. It's not a story, it's a fact. It's been studied. You want to drive somebody crazy, you leave them alone in isolation, right? That's what they do in prisons. They basically put people alone in rooms for a long, long, long time. And then these people lose their mind. They lose their perspective, their sense of being, their dignity, how they belong to the world. So all of this, isolation is a killer. I said that the first day. So we belong to a community because we need to survive, and we also need the healing power of love through other people. I'm not saying that it's the only source of love, because we talked about higher self on day 3. And when I say higher self, is the part of you that knows that you deserve to be loved, and love is not conditional. When we practice meditation and mindfulness, sometimes we gain access to that higher perspective. We feel that we are being held by a greater source of power, greater source of love, hopefully. So it's that balance between, yes, we know this, but we also need other human beings. Like when I'm crying, having a hug feels really good. When I'm scared, being held feels good. I may know in my heart that the universe is holding me, but honestly, if I have a real person holding me, it goes way, way further than just me knowing that the universe is holding me. It's both, right? So we need each other. And since COVID started, it's been very challenging. I mean, I had my second diagnosis, the first, I think it was basically, it happened at the same time that COVID was starting. So talk about isolation, and talk about not being able to be held and be touched and have other people hold my hand. Yet I had people hold my hand through the phone. I had people calling me when I was really scared and listening to me and reassuring me. And I don't think I would have made it through. And to this day, I still have that. Like I'm doing this live recording here with Kathy. I could never do it without her. Kathy with her smile, Kathy with her warmth, and who she is, her huge heart, is holding this container for me to be able to speak and feel like I'm not talking to the wind. So thank you, Kathy. So why does it matter? A little bit of science again, and we've covered that, I believe, on day 3, but I'm going to go back to it. So heart resonance, I didn't make that word up. It's coming from the Heart Math Institute. It's your heart waves coming into a regular pattern. And so when you bring feelings of compassion for another, your heart waves are balancing. When you feel touched by someone's story, when you love someone when they suffer and they struggle, when you love them through their imperfections, your heart waves are balancing themselves out. Now, not only are they balancing themselves out, but they're also affecting the field around you. So that's why people who believe in long distance healing and people who can actually do it that way, because they really expand the heart consciousness beyond their physical heart. So when we're together in a group, that's what we do. We get something personal, immediate results. Our heart comes into coherence, which then affects our immune system. And then we hopefully have a little bit more healing happening in our own body. Now back to breast cancer is in the heart center. So the more we are able to foster that for one another, the more we're able to do it for ourselves. It's kind of a strange way, but I believe that's why the Dalai Lama said we are here to help one another. Because when I'm helping you, I'm helping me. It's easy for me to go back into my little hole there and start feeling miserable about my life and where I'm going, and everything looks doom and gloom. And honestly, that's the day I had yesterday. And I reached out to people because I knew that I was in that dark spot, and I called someone and they held me through that place, and they had love for me and they had compassion. And that allowed me to soften and open my own heart to my own self. And then I went down and I lay down for a little bit and I rested. And then my lovely man came over and gave me a big hug and, was there with his beautiful heart. And so that's what we do for one another. Either you have it in your life or you have it in a group like here. That's what I'm hoping and wishing for this group to be. A place where we hold each other, where we have that kindness, that compassion. So it's going to be good for you, your heart, and for someone else. And so basically the stress response decreases. So the heart coherence practice that we did, we're going to do now. It's going to be short because we're coming up in time, and I want to leave you with something. We talked about it yesterday, how to join this group. But for now, I just want to go back, give you one more experience that we're going to do together. So we've practiced. So you want to sit. Yeah, that's it, Kathy. You want to sit upright and you want to find your seat. So that means your sit bones. I'm going to close my eyes for a moment. You can close yours as well. And when I say find your seat, you want your sit bones to be on the chair. You want your belly to soften. You want your low back to lean back. And see if you can take a deep belly breath. And let that breath energetically go towards the floor through your legs and your feet. And even beyond your feet into the earth. So rest your lower body from the waistline down to your feet. Let it be heavier as you take some deep breath in. And deep breath is on a count of 4. I'm just going to do it one time. We take a breath in, you count for 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold it for 2. 1, 2, and exhale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So continue doing this. And why 6 counts on the exhale? Because the exhale releases more and really engages the parasympathetic nervous system. Now continue breathing and bring your energy, your attention back to your belly, your solar plexus, and your heart. So if you have not sat upright yet, do it. Just take a moment, take your shoulders up to your ears, roll them back and down. Let your shoulder blades glide in the back on your rib cage and bring them closer towards your spine. So imagine your shoulder blades being like 2 hands that are holding the back of your heart space. And in between, the space between your shoulder blades becomes softer. And you let yourself receive as if someone had a hand in the back of your heart, and you just let yourself receive that. And then go up. Imagine your ears smiling. So you gently pull back, you bring your chin down a little bit, pull back and up towards the sky, and then relax the space between your eyebrows. Open the crown of your head like a funnel. Imagine, I don't know where you are, maybe it's nighttime already, maybe it's daytime. Like today we have a beautiful sunny day, so I'm going to imagine the sun coming through the crown of my head. And opening the central channel, the middle place in your body where you're receiving sunlight, you're receiving light through the crown, the center of your brain, the middle of your throat, your heart, your solar plexus, your belly, and your sit bone, your tailbone, all the way to the earth. Now come back to your heart center, and I know I'm rushing us a little bit. Normally I would do this slower, but put your left hand on your heart for a moment. And that physical touch is basically sending a message to your heart that it's safe. You're safe. Let your heart meet, let your breath and your heart center meet your hand, and let your hand rest and press into your heart as you exhale a little bit. And then continue breathing and imagine a circle around you, a circle of women. And I'm going to expand it to a circle of people you know and people maybe you don't know. But all these people around you are actually here for you. They want to support you. They see the best in you. They see the power that you have to heal. They see your light shine, your purpose coming through, and they believe that you are here for this. You are here to share that the same way they want to share theirs with you. So from our heart, personal heart to their heart is a connection. Imagine a line of energy going from the center of your heart out to your circle. And from the circle, the people around you, there's also another line coming to your heart. So we're actually fueling and feeling heart to heart. And feel what it feels like to receive and be supported and be seen and be held in your journey. And take another deep breath and gently bow your head, just literally lower your chin to your chest, and just in a way you say thank you, and everyone is doing the same thing. We honor the greatest part of us in each other. And when you're ready, open your eyes, release your hand, and let the light in. Lean back on your chair if you got yourself upright. And here we are. So because Kathy is my friend and she's part of this journey, I'm going to ask her for some feedback. If anything called you forward, if anything helped, or whatever your experience was, if you want to share, Kathy, that would be great.
I'm just reflecting on it now.
I know it may take a little bit of time, so I'm not going to rush you. So I guess what I'm saying is, the breathing happen, the relaxing inside your body, the focusing on the heart and having a hand on your heart and imagining other people. So when I'm saying I'm repeating the journey we went through, I'm saying it so that you can recall, anyone watching this as well, and maybe notice what was easy and maybe what wasn't so easy. Maybe you just went somewhere and totally forgot about it, which is fine. You just took a moment to be with yourself. Or maybe you saw some people you didn't expect to see. Maybe you didn't see anyone. So all these, all this is information. None of it is bad. None of it is wrong. It's more like, hey, I wonder how this is for me. So that's really what this question is about.
Well, the thing I love is your the hand, or the imaginary hand between your shoulder blades holding your heart. Now, I'd never thought of that before. I've never come across that before, and I love that. I think that's beautiful. And the thing I found most challenging was the circle around me, which makes sense from what we were saying earlier. So that was, just you saying, and all these people are here to support you. And that was where it was like, there was a kind of, immediately there was a question mark rather than which is of course the response you want to have, isn't it? This, oh, how lovely. Are they?
Thank you for your honesty, because what you just said has taken me years. Not talking a day, years to see.
Wow.
I completely understand. So thank you for saying this. And the hand on the heart, I want to just put a plug in for, let's see, how can I say this in simple words? In energy medicine, the back body is called universal body, and the front body is called individual body. So when we start imagining universal holding us literally from crown of the head all the way to the feet, universal life force. So that means it holds our vision. I'm going to the chakra center now, which is in the Indian tradition, like we talked about a couple days ago. But the back of the heart is the ability to, the back of the head is the ability to see the greater perspective, receiving information. Throat has to do with speaking truth, but universal truth, connecting to universal truth. And heart is the universal love. It's like having that hand that says, I got your back. So, and then we go down to the solar plexus, which is universal will, aligning our individual will with universal will. Belly, it's about our emotions, passion, creativity, and it's having a hand that says, yes, you can. Yes, you have what it takes. You have the support. And then underneath it is the foundation, the earth, basically connecting to our roots and be feeling and being in safety in our body and on this planet. So I'm sorry, I expanded on all that, but yes, the hand in the back of the heart is very powerful because it's saying, somebody has my heart. I'm not alone here. Beautiful. So thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, yes, absolutely. All right, we're going to share our screen one more time because I know we're coming up in time, and let me take a couple more minutes than usual. So here we go. So review an assignment, and every day you had an assignment, and every day we talked about it a little bit, but really the assignment for today is to look at what makes you feel safe. Who do you feel safe? So we're always back to those 4 levels: physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual. Your body gives you clues. Safety is what you're looking for. Emotionally, what makes you feel happy, joyful, supported, connected? And then when I say what, it doesn't necessarily have to be people, right? Like I said, nature is a big thing for me. I go in nature and then I calm down and then I feel happy. This morning I went for a walk. It's freezing here. That's why I have this really warm sweater on. But the wind, the sun, all of it made me feel happy. So that's emotional connection to nature, but it's also emotional. Then I went back into the world and I had a different way of being with people. Mentally, what makes you, and that's again, connection to the words. What helps you rewire your brain? We talked about this today, right? What makes you change your belief system? What makes you have faith that healing is possible, that you are loved, that you are supported, that you are here on purpose. These are thoughts, right? Connecting to emotions, but really what sustains you, what supports you. And so when I say what, I can say people, because we talked about community today, but it could also be sources of information. And then spiritually, we talked about alignment. On day 3, we talked about the higher self. We talked about aligning with your heart and what you love when we talked about purpose yesterday. Fostering the qualities of the heart will bring you to that spiritual alignment. So these are the questions you may want to ask yourself about, because the community you create is also with yourself. It's self to self and self to others. So that's the assignment. We're not going to see each other until I see you again next time, which should be about a month from now. We're going to do another retreat. But for now, I'm inviting you to go back, and I guess I just did not put that slide in. So let me just stop this presentation. So we basically, 3 ways you can connect with me. You can go through that Facebook group again. There's a link, there will be a link posted about making time to speak with me. 30 minutes, no charge. We focus on what you want. We focus on what stands in your way. We find ways to overcome that so that you become the biggest believer in your healing process, your ability to heal and really live this purpose. Not leave this planet without your song unsung. That's what I'm here for. That's what I'm doing this for. You have a bright light to shine, and I'm here to support you, and this community is here to support you in believing that it is possible to have that. So book that 30-minute session with me. I've opened my calendar for a few days, and click on it, choose the right time for you. Number 2, this Facebook group. If you're listening to this, you are part of this Facebook group. This is not posted anywhere else but here. Interact with each other. Talk to me and other people. Come out of the closet. I'm not pushing you. I'm not saying you have to. And I'm saying every time you give, you receive. Your heart waves will come into coherence if you're able to be kind and compassionate towards another suffering and can support, elevate. Rising tide rises everyone. Take someone out of the hole for 1 minute. Make them believe that they're going to be okay, and your heart waves will change. That's number 2. Number 3, there is, and I will post it again today, a link to signing up for my newsletter, where you can literally put your name and email address, and I will be in touch with you on a regular basis about, I'm sending information. As you can tell today, I love to talk, I love to share information, and also invite you to some events like this one that are free or low cost. So these are the 3 ways: 30 minutes with me, speak and make your presence known to this group, and then sign up to the newsletter that I sent. So until I see you again, I thank you for being here. I'm going to give 1 more minute to Kathy, and I want to just tell you that she's an incredible relationship coach. If you feel and you find yourself in the midst of a challenge in terms of your relationship, don't hesitate to. I'm going to have her link or post. I'm going to have you post your link on my page so that you can actually invite people to your next event. So you want to tell us a little bit about it? I know I put you on a spot.
That's great. No, well, as Chantal has said, I'm Kathy. I'm the relationship artist. And what I do is help to draw people towards the relationship future that they really want. So sometimes that's about staying together when things are tricky and you know that you don't want to split up, but somehow it's very hard to stay together. And that happens to so many people. You're not alone in that. And most people can find a way back. If you can remember any fondness in your history together, then that spark is still there and we can help find it together. So staying together is the first thing that I help people to do. I also help people then to deepen their love. And a lot of my clients come to me with good relationships. They just want to know that they are going to ride the storms of life together. They want that confidence and they want that depth and often new levels of intimacy. So the 3 ways that I do that are, firstly, through my little Facebook group, which is called, it's relationship skills. So if you go to Facebook groups and then / relationship skills, you'll find that group. Chantal's a member, so it's very easy to find me through her as well. The group is called Lasting Love, but the URL is relationship skills. The next way is to join one of my programs. So I have short courses that run for 6 weeks that are for people who really want to deepen their love for each other and use all the skills. Behind me, you may be able to see I have my relationship coaching model up on the wall. I quite often draw it, which is quite fun. And that takes you through 12 skills that are really simple things that you can do with your partner to strengthen your love for each other. So I do courses, group courses in that. And of course, one-to-one coaching or couple coaching is the other way that people connect with me. And it's really exciting to see the changes in people's lives. I could go on for a long time, but I won't, except to say that I've seen people come back from living apart to being happier and more committed than ever before, sitting on my sofa giggling, or in my Zoom room just telling me that they're happier than they've ever been, sometimes in as much as 30 years together. So it's a wonderful opportunity to really connect with each other and find more love in your life, create more love in your life and your world. So thank you, Chantal, for putting me on the spot there. That's great.
I am grateful for your presence the last since we started. Thank you so much. And
well, I also want to thank you for everything that I've learned over the last few days, because this has been very deep and connecting on that deeper inner level, and that alignment from the earth to the spirit, you know, that alignment at the heart, that kind of joining place at the heart has been it's been very powerful for me to see that with fresh eyes through everything you've taught, and to go deep in that is beautiful. So thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
you're so welcome. So everyone if you are listening this as a replay, which I believe you are, or maybe live, this is the end of a 5-day retreat entitled Yes to Living Life Beyond Breast Cancer. And again, to hear more or to focus on you, book that 30-minute session. To hear more about what I have to offer, sign up for the newsletter or share your beautiful self into this group. We cannot live and be alone. We cannot do this alone. So I'm inviting you, and I thank you again for being part of this. I thank you for listening. I thank you for maybe participating afterwards. And until I see you again, may you be blessed in your journey. May you be held with great love, compassion, and kindness for yourself and also for others. And I hope to see you live a long, joyful, healthy, happy life. Thank you.